regulation and fairly orderly, John.
Well, as regulation as it can be on this car. You've got to remember a lot of what was repositioned on the front after that crash before the race actually started is holding there with a wing and a prayer. So they're checking that all the time. This is, in fact, their last pit stop. So it's important to them to get it going smoothly. They've taken 30 seconds at it so far. Now they, assuming they don't have any close, 35 seconds for the stop. Chicotto in the car. He'll drive it now till the end. Assuming they don't have any tyres and nothing else goes wrong, we won't see them in the pit again.
Thank you, John. 25, the B&H BMW went into the pits running in fourth, rejoins in fourth, so they haven't dropped anything, except I think that was Gentleman Jim, was it not?
Just put a lap on him.
Just put a lap on him. So it's going to be very difficult it's going to really require some bad luck besetting others for good luck, the B&H team this afternoon. So Tony has been fairly physical in the car. He's done a great job. As Johnny Chicotto, who started the day in the morning warm-up, wound up touching the wall on the approach to Forest Elbow, then started the race in the 25 car. Now 3 cars on the same lap. The number 1 Winfield Nissan GTR, Jimmy Richards at the wheel. Number 17, the Shell Sierra with Dick Johnson at the wheel, and number 2 with Neil Crompton at the wheel, the second of the GTRs. Johnny warming up the tyres.
The Venezuelan twice world motorcycle champion.
I noticed the Broly's going up at the top of the mountain again.
And also the wiper going on Chicotto's car there as well. You can also see at the back, just in front of the rear wheel there, one of the air jacks hasn't retracted properly. And that could cause Chicotto 1 or 2 problems. He might have to dive into the pits to have that pushed up.
No rain at the bottom of the circuit yet, Mike, but obviously some drizzle at the top. Telltale wipers and Brollies.
That's normally the way it happens here at Mount Panorama. Wind's starting to pick up down here on Pitt Straight. And you'll notice how they're now, the pace has eased off. Notice those spots on the lens of our camera at Forest Elbow. 18 car will come back into the pits. It's had about 3 or 4 visits. They're trying to resolve what the problem is.
This was the car that was having problem with water in the electrics, and that's where they were working before, so I'd say that the problem is an ongoing one. Was in position 9th. Position 9, when it came in on this occasion.
Yes, it's dropped. It's had 3 pit stops and dropped 2 spots each time it's pulled up.
6th the first time, I think 8th last time, and 9th now.
They've got a communication problem too with the driver by the look of it. But they continue to work on that car. Here's the number 55 car. It's the second of the Mobile Commodores.
Andy Medecky and Troy Dunstan. Dunstan at the wheel at the moment. As the GIO Nissan.
That's Mark Gibbs at the wheel. It's the battle for 6th and 7th. See, Troy Dunstan, I think, has done a great job here today. Formula Ford standout competitor last year. And Andrew Medecky.
Medecky was saying how quickly he was going. In fact, Troy Dunstan, what a great performance he was putting up in the wet earlier on. Dunstan indeed has done a good job. The GIO Nissan just in front of them. Of course, has been delayed after an incident earlier on which damaged the oil cooler. Lost some time and slipped back from 4th place, but now climbing back up through the field.
Start to see water on the road at the top of the mountain as Dunstan goes through. Gibbs, Terry Finnegan, Foodtown Commodore, the blue car behind. Terry's one of the unsung heroes of the privateers. Long-term Holden supporter. Foodtown have been very supportive of his racing car efforts. He goes through. Comes down to Forest Elbow. I would think getting a little slippery here.
Richard Hay, you were expressing concern about that jack protruding on the front end of Longhurst's car earlier.
Yes, apparently it has a device whereby it can't come down any further, so that won't cause a problem. But what they will be worried about in the B&H pit is the weather, because if it does rain, it'll lose them the advantage that they might have by the others having to make an extra pit stop.
They swing down, right-hand kick towards Caltech's chase. So Troy Dunstan, 55 Mobile Commodore, has run perfectly all day. Both Andy Medecky and Troy have given this car a good ride. No incidents. Mark Gibbs escaping from view there. And Terry Finnegan in the Foodtown Commodore trailing Dunstan down to the end of the straight. Well, there's no doubt about it, the Falcon EV certainly brought a lot of stalwarts to Mount Panorama this year. It hung in there during the early laps this morning. It was taken out by a fuel pump failure. We saw Glenn Seaton give it one heck of a shot, and Alan Jones in action as well. And Alan Jones has joined Bruce McAvaney in our pit studio.
Yes, Mike saying that you gave it one hell of a shot today, Alan. You must have been pretty pleased with the performance.
We were really pleased. I mean, considering the amount of development time the car's had, I think it's acquitted itself fantastically.
Seemed to have had a head start too on the opposition, looking ahead to 1993, one of 4 spec cars in the race today, but the only Falcon.
Yeah, well, we're really delighted. I mean, we know where there's quite a bit of development that can still be done on the car, and that'll certainly be done for next year. So we're going to have a very quick race here next year.
What about your old mate Doug Mulray, who said earlier today when we had the race cam on you that we needed a wide-angle lens to get a good shot of you?
God, he's a good one, isn't he? I tell you, standing next to him, I look like anorexic.
He could probably hear you right now. I'm not sure if Doug's still there. Are you there, Doug?
Oh, yeah, and laughing.
And laughing. You've never been described as anorexic with anyone, Alan. I can assure you of that. You're looking very well. Alan, on a sad note, we have spoken a lot about this, the tragedy with Denny Holm today, New Zealand's only Formula One world champion. You were world champion in 1980 and a co-driver with Denny at this track in the last 2 years. A very sad day for motorsport around the world.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he was one of the great characters, one of the great drivers, and you know, it might sound a bit flippant to say that it really is never anywhere good to have a heart attack, but I guess if you're going to have one, Denny was at least doing something that he loved to do, and that was behind the wheel of a car.
Well, he provided a lot of inspiration for a lot of young Formula One drivers in the 70s and 80s when you made your breakthrough.
No, absolutely. I remember being in Europe and going and being on the other side of the fence and watching Denny Holm and Bruce McLaren in the McLaren cars, and of course there was the Denny and Bruce show. They absolutely dominated Can-Am racing in America, and you know, really a great guy too, and a great driver, and someone that New Zealand can be very, very proud of.
Alan, just looking ahead to next year and finally, do you think you could possibly win Bathurst? You haven't won the race here. It's one of the few things you haven't done in motor racing, but you seem to have the vehicle that might take you to victory.
Yeah, I'm really confident. Next year we're going to give it a big nudge, for sure.
Good on you, Alan. Thanks for joining us again today. Alan Jones, co-driver with Glenn Seaton today. As we go back to you, Mike.
Thank you very much, Bruce. Not sure if Alan caught the anorexic gag all that well, Doug, but he certainly enjoys being in the Falcon, and I think they would have a fair idea of the amount of development to come in that car.
Scott and Jason Bargwanna on screen, and they are leading the 1600cc class in the Mercantile Mutual Corolla. 21st outright as well, which is a tremendous performance. There's been a three-way battle in this category all day between the Bargwanna cousins, Peter Verheyen and Jeffrey Full in car 74, and the early leaders in the class, Rick and Neil Bates. They still fill the top 3 placings, and as I said, 21st outright for Scott and Jason Bargwanna, and the other 2 not far astern of them as well.
Ian Barnes, the Toyota Corolla, started 46th in the 47 car lineup today. They've battled around nicely, and I paid a compliment earlier today to some of the guys running in the Corolla class. Now, on occasions here at Mount Panorama, we've heard some of the guns being very, very critical of the guys in the slow cars. Today, been relatively free of incident, and they've been watching their mirrors because the speed difference is horrifying.
Yeah, these guys have to spend almost as much time looking backwards through the mirrors as they do looking forwards with The difference being so great, particularly on the straights, of course.
Especially under the conditions we saw earlier. You saw that shunt, you got a Sierra running into a Commodore. Imagine if that Sierra had run into the back of a Corolla, the speed differential there being, what, 100, 120 kilometres an hour down that straight.
It's enormous down the straight, Doug, yeah.
Calvin Gardner, Mike Conway, Jeff Forshaw, Mountain Motorsport entry car 76, another in this category.
And another act of a gentleman, waved him going into the corner to tell him that he was staying to the outside, pass on the inside, which he did. That enabled the Win Percy, Alan Grice car not to really lose any time sitting in behind the Corolla.
Well, you'd be doing it for your own survival as well, wouldn't you?
Well, you certainly wouldn't want the Commodore punting you into BP cutting.
And where's it gone? It's only just passed him, but 4 seconds ago, and it's out of sight.
So the Gardner, Forshaw, Conway Corolla continues down through the S's. They've certainly been consistent all day here at Mount Panorama. That earlier thought we had of hail and
Don't give it up yet.
No, I was about to take back those words, Wilco. The clouds seem to have moved off the mountain now.
Yeah, they've moved directly over our head.
I don't think it'll worry as much down here as it will on the top of the mountain. The 76 continues down the Subaru Straight.
In 6th position in this category they are.
Comes down to Caltech's Chase.
Car 55, the second Rock Mobile car that we saw a short while ago with Andy Miedeke at the wheel. We understand coming into... Andy's not in the car at the moment, but he will be when it comes into pit very shortly. Car 16 on screen, Holden Racing Team. Alan Grice, Win Percy, the great eights are back at Mount Panorama for the 30th anniversary of the great race, although the first V8 victory here, in fact, was 31 years ago in the Mount Panorama 6-hour race, the year before they even started the great race. Here, that was one. Exactly, Doug. It's Judy Baker.
I remember that, Gary. Yeah.
Driven by Don Algie and Kingsley Hibbert, a car that sold at the time for the equivalent of $3,290 tax paid.
Let's have a look at the Caltex race score. Jimmy Richards and Mark Scaife continue to lead the race over Johnson, Bauschel, Sierra. Third, Neil Crompton at the wheel of the Ollison second Winfield car. Fourth, Johnny Cicotto at the wheel of the Longhurst, Benson and Hedges BMW, and running fifth on the road at the moment is Alan Grice, co-driving with Win Percy. In sixth is the Gibbs Onslow GTR. Seventh, Medecky Dunstan in the Mobile Commodore. Eighth is Parker Parsons in the Peter Jackson Sierra. Ninth, Harrison Cook in the Daily Planet Commodore. 10th, Perkins and Harrington in the Bob Jane T-Marts Commodore.
In 11th, Grant and Grunt with the Nissan Skyline, then Shield and Crick with the second of the Shell Sierras, Finnegan and Rogers with the Food Tank Commodore in 13th, 14th, Waldock and Peters with the Playscape Sierra, and Becerra Jones in 15th position with car 15. 16th, Johnson Wall with another Commodore, Gulson and Beck with the NEC BMW up to 17th now, O'Brien and Graham with the Everlast Commodore in 18th, 19th Jones and Jansen, and 20th Needsvitz and Hansford.
21st position, rain on the windscreen there. McCall and Gazard in the Commodore, position 22. The Barguana boys in the Corolla leading their class, position 23. Verheyen and Full also in a Corolla. Then car 70, Bates and Bates, third in their class. O'Brien and Brabham, the car number 9. Synovus in 25th position. Car 42 rather, in 26th position. Moore and Gardner. 27th is Brock and Werder. 28th, Easton and Stratton. Car 29, Dunford and Wright in the Corolla. And car 30, Gardner and Conway also in a Corolla.
Position 31 is Murphy.